Hi everyone, welcome back to Inside the Ropes. My name is Gary Cassidy and today I'm joined by two legends of the wrestling business, two WWE Hall of Famers, Butch and Luke, the Bushwhackers. How's it going today, guys?
Whoa, Gary, matey. It's bloody great to talk to you, Gary. Yeah, it's great to be on Inside the Ropes and to speaking to all your fans out there. We love you guys. Whoa!
The thing for me growing up watching you, the one thing that I always remember is the iconic march to the ring, that walk. How did that come about? How did you guys end up with that walk to the ring?
Well, when we were heels, the sheep herders, when we went out the ring and that, we always threw our arms up and screamed at the fans, "Wow!" You know, and yay, as heels to try and scare them and that. And we swung our arms around. So when we became the Bushwhackers, Butch said to me, "How about going to the ring, swinging our arms in the marching thing?" And I bitched. I said, "My shoulders are screwed up. Fucked." And he says, "Do you want to make money? Do you want to make money?" So hence, we became, as Jesse Ventura used to say, you know, the governor of Minnesota, we become the marching morons.
And that's it.
I took him, Gary. I took him out of the paddocks and I got him after those bloody sheep. And he started to march because they were quite fast running. And he was running after those woolly girls. And I'll tell you what, those arms were swinging pretty bloody smartly because I was always beating him to the best looking one.
Absolutely amazing. I need to ask, you guys mentioned the sheep herders, and it was something that, you know, I wasn't incredibly familiar with until I looked back because I remember the Bushwhackers. Was it always a case that you would be the Bushwhackers or you know, when you were in WWF, or was there ever talk of, let's just keep these guys as the sheep herders? What was the decision of becoming the Bushwhackers?
It wasn't our decision, mate. it was Caesar's, Vince's.
Yeah.
He wanted to promote us, sell merchandise, and he wanted to own the name. So that's how that name came, and that's right, Cousin Butch?
Yeah, right, Cousin Luke. And now they're not too sure when they're going to see the sheep herders or the Bushwhackers or the sheep whackers or the bush herders. Who knows what's going to be coming through the dressing room door out into the arenas.
Now they get 4 teams for the price of one. That's even better. So
exactly.
So yeah,
that New Zealand flag will be flying again, mate.
Most definitely. That's...
Yeah. We're having this will be our second or third run to conquer the countries we go to.
Third time lucky, and you'll definitely have taken over for them for good
like
when you come back this time.
Just like that Kiwi went up on the top of Mount Everest, and planted the flag in the 1950s.
Yeah, definitely. So you mentioned there a name. You mentioned Caesar
Hillary.
or Vince.
Hillary.
Yeah, like Edmund Hillary. Yeah. You mentioned a name there. You mentioned Caesar or Vince McMahon. One of my favourite things is, you know, I always ask current talent, but finding out people that knew Vince McMahon many years ago, what the relationship was like with Vince McMahon. What did you guys, what was your relationship like with him? Because obviously you got welcomed back to the Hall of Fame and you've been back a few times. What's your relationship like with Vince?
We had
good, mate.
Yeah. We had a fantastic, we had a fantastic relationship with him. When we went up there and he said, "Guys, I would like to maybe turn you good guys," and blah, blah, blah. And I got up on his table right in front of him. I'd never met him before. My face was about 2 inches from his face. I was on his desk on my hands and knees. And I said, "Vince, if you want to make faces, which are good guys, with faces like this, you go right ahead." And he said, Luke will tell you what he said.
And Vince turned around and he says, look at my top baby faces. Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Have they got pretty mugs?
Yeah, I'm not going to try and ask who would win a good-looking contest, a beauty contest between you guys and Hulk Hogan. Let's not go down go down that route, because I know that you guys will say yourselves. But that's interesting.
Win hands down. Win hands down, mate.
But that's that. You know, you mentioned that he essentially wanted to turn you guys face. My only recollection of the Bushwhackers is you guys being face and being, you know, these lovable, larger-than-life personalities. Was it ever a consideration, like, to end up, you know, turning heel again to prolong the Bushwhackers?
That's what was normally done, and Luke even suggested that to him, because normally you would come into a territory and you would come in like we were. Really, we were, you know, one of the roughest, well, possibly were the roughest, toughest tag team in the wrestling business at that time. And normally you would come in and then you would do a change in a match, and, you know, you change from one to the other. Or after you've been wrestling for a few years, then you do a split with your partner. But Luke and I, we never, ever did a split in all our wrestling history, except in the very first 6 months of us being in the business. And that was mainly Luke wrestling with me so we could save the night, because the other guys were a piece of shit. So we were supposed to wrestle them, and they were so bad that Luke and I split each other up. So one of us were on one side and one of us was on the other, and that way we had a hell of a match. But that's the only way. And even Vince never wanted to split us. He said, with you guys, the people love you guys so much. And he used to say this, Nelly, every time he saw us. He said, I can't believe how much the public loves you guys. We cannot split you up.
And at the end of our run, near the end of the run, I actually said to him, turn his heels. And to turn his heels, this was at about 1996, because we finished in the end of 96, started 97. That's when we had our last run with him. And he says, no, the people wouldn't accept his heels.
Yeah, well, that's, I was going to say that 1996, as I looked back and I'm going, man, I can't believe that was when you guys, you know, left WWF or had your last run. The thing that I remember after that was you guys being in ECW as a couple of members of the extended Dudley family, which was, you know, a little bit insane. I remember I looked back and went, no, that couldn't have been. And then it added up in my mind, wait, that was the Bushwhackers? That's insane. Was there ever a consideration for you guys to go to WCW like a lot of people did? Or how did the ECW thing come about?
Yes, they booked us. We were working independently after WWE, and we like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And Paul Dangerously, or what's his last name? Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
He booked us for a weekend, right? 3 shows as the Dudleys from down under.
Yeah.
From down under, and we worked, and I did the program where they were looking for was us to work against Sandman and his partner. I don't know who it was. I don't know who the Sandman is partner, because they wanted some blood and gut matches. Anyhow, and we were coming in as the Dudleys. What happened though? He said after we worked that weekend, he says, I'd like to start you. And I said to him, well, we've got bookings for a month. We were booked up, you know, for 6 months ahead, but the months right after that, within, you know, the next week, I didn't want to cancel, because we were on the marquees for these independent promoters. And if we pulled our names, we'd kill their bloody, you know, they couldn't, with a month or 2 weeks to go, they couldn't hire talent for that spot. So you know, and they were good to us, these independent promoters. So I told Paul that it would be a month before we could start. And of course, you know, I sent a message to him, and of course, he wanted us there and then. He says, you don't want to come now, I don't want you.
Yeah, and that's
Exactly.
well, that was one of the last memories that I had of you guys, but it wasn't the last one. My last memory, apart from the Hall of Fame, which was kind of recently, was actually the gimmick Battle Royal that you guys were in
Yeah.
at 17. Amazing anyway for anyone that grew up watching wrestling. It just was nostalgia. But what are you guys' memories of that?
Oh, that was yeah. Well, that was, believe it or not, we were so worn out when we got there, Gary. We had been wrestling independents up in California the night before. So, and most of the guys for that Battle Royal had come in 2 or 3 days beforehand, because all of Vince's pay-per-views, he would take you in 3 or 4 days beforehand. But Luke had made this booking for us well in advance, and what we had got the booking for the Royal Rumble. So being the guys we are, we didn't want to let the promoter down in California. So we did that show. Then they raced us back to the airport. We got on a red eye, which goes all through the night. And we arrived, I think that was in Texas, if I can remember.
Houston, Texas. We went into Dallas, and Dallas to Houston.
That's right. And then, so we flew all night, and they picked us up straight away from the airport, took us to the hotel, gave us a half an hour to have a shower, and we were taken in the limo straight to the event, and that was it. And so we were really dragging. And then when Vince said, I want you guys to go out first and together to get the crowd popping, that's what we did. And boy, when we marched out there and the music played and the people were going apeshit, Gary.
And we came to life.
Yeah.
Then all the tiredness goes out the window, yeah.
Hey, Gary, from being knackered, they use that word over in Scotland when you're knackered.
Knackered is exactly the word. It's the perfect word to use for that. Yeah.
We were knackered, but once we hurt those people, it was like electricity going into our bodies.
Exactly.
Just pure adrenaline. Well, I want to finish up with 3 short questions. Quick fire kind of stuff, if that's okay. My most memorable things, from being a kid was seeing you guys against the Natural Disasters was one of them. And the other one was, of course, the big Wembley pay-per-view because, over on this side. What was your guys' most memorable moment in wrestling?
That's it, mate. That last show for the old Wembley Stadium. We were tagged up with,
Yep.
Jim Duggan, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who's been a good friend of ours because we knew him way back. We knew him back in the early 80s when he first started. So he's with us against the
Nasty Boys
and Rougeau.
Yep.
Mate, when you walk out with 94,600 people just looking down at you, and we opened the show, so all those people have been sitting there for an hour. Tell them, Butch.
And Gary, the reason why, of course, Vince put us on there is because he knew he was going to get the pop of the night. And so,
definitely,
when he announced, from New Zealand, blah blah blah, Luke and Butch, the Bushwhackers, and we marched out, and then Duggan behind us. We were pumping the arms. Duggan had the flag, the 4x2, and away we went. So we went into the ring.
Butch, and Duggan had the cross eyes.
Oh yeah, he had the cross eyes. He was a lovely guy. We loved Jim Duggan. But anyway, we got in the ring, and we'd all marched to one side, and Duggan was marching just like us. And one of us would go, whoa! And the other one of us would go, yay! And Duggan would go, ho! Well, we did that for about bloody 5 minutes. We could have been doing it for an hour, and the people still would have been popping. And but we had to get on with the match. But what a great time we had. Jeez, it was good. The noise, Gary, was unbelievable. That loudest wrestling crowd I've ever heard. Mind you, it's the biggest wrestling crowd that we've ever been in front of live. And don't forget, at Wembley Stadium, not only did they pack all the stands and that, but they had the whole grass with ringside seats, you know, which held thousands again. So it was a record. It was a record crowd for Wembley. Not only was it a record crowd, that particular night they sold more merchandise than anyone has ever done in the Wembley Stadium. And they sold double the merchandise that Madonna or what's that guy? Michael Jackson did together.
That's absolutely incredible.
Now, Gary.
Incredible night. Incredible.
I just got to say another one for me and Butch. I'm going to cut it short. This is in the 80s, mate, in a battle royal in MSG, the Mecca for sports and entertainment, Madison Square Garden. We're in a battle royal there in the 80s. And the last person out is Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
When he came out to that ring, Butch could put his mouth in my ear and talk to me and tell me something. I couldn't hear him. The bloody hairs on my arm in that fucking arena, then that's when Hulkamania was running wild. You know, WrestleMania was wild, everything in the 80s. And that was the second highlight of my life, and I think of Butch's too.
Absolutely amazing. I've got one final question I want to ask you guys, because you brought it up there that if you can't beat them, you'll lick them. I want to know, what has been the best or the worst experience of licking a wrestler? Who was the worst or the best one that you've had, and why?
You better ask Butch about that.
But one of the worst people that I ever licked was we were on a sitcom. We were doing a sitcom. We did quite a lot of sitcoms.
Yep.
And this was called Family Matters.
Yep.
I don't know if you had it over in Scotland.
I have seen you guys in that episode, yes.
yeah, right. Well, when we were marching to the ring, they had this woman who was to get up and greet us and, you know, and be really excited. And I was grabbing her and I gave her this bloody lick. She had so much makeup and goo on that I didn't notice it. As soon as I licked her, my throat started closing up. And this was a rehearsal before the live audience was let in. So now we had to carry on, and I did the rest of that show, and I couldn't even swallow my own spit, leave alone anything else. So silly me, now the next day comes the rehearsal, it's gone, because now they let in the live audience. The live audience comes in, now we're ready for the final taping. Cameras are all set, everything. Music goes, out we walk, up jumps this bloody Sheila. I get carried away again, don't even think. I grab her and I give her the biggest bloody licking she's ever had on her face, that is. Then, for God's
It wasn't
sake,
down under. It wasn't down under, mate.
it was not down under. And then, for God's sake, my throat closed up. The whole thing happened again. And I thought, you stupid bloody bugger. But anyway,
let's go.
It was a lot of fun. But what the makeup that they must have stuck on that woman's face to have her right for the cameras obviously didn't suit my particular throat.
Gary, she was specially put there. She was a former American gladiator.
Jeez, oh.
Yeah,
she was pretty muscled up, and she jumped up all excited, and Butch grabbed her. She was like this pounding, you know what I mean? And Butch grabbed her and gave her the...
Thank you guys so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Whoa!